The first time I encountered the teaching of Reverend Chris Oyakhilome, I believe, was in 1995 when he came for a program on my university campus. And I had grown up in a Christian home and rooted somehow in Assemblies of God church, as part of teachings, and but along the way I lost it, and by the time I was coming to campus, I tell you, I had lost it completely. And I was one of those who came to campus planning all kind of evil that we're going to be doing on campus. It's not like, for some they came to campus and it became bad, but for me, I planned it from home, that when I get to campus, I was really going to be loose. Okay, so I went for this program reluctantly. I didn't want to go, but my friends kind of encouraged me to come, and I went. So then when Chris ministered that night, and he taught on the issue of trousers. Okay, that was the main message I took away from that place that night. He explained Deuteronomy chapter 22 verse 5 in a very simple way, that I could understand without having to crack my head. I just understood it, but at the same time I was confused, because what he was teaching us that night was quite different from the background I had, because I had come out from Assemblies of God, even though I've not been fellowshipping for probably 6 years, alright, but I had some teaching that some background, and hearing this, a new approach to the same verse of scripture that have been used to condemn many, and I was like, this is different. So when I go back to my room that night, I kept thinking about this thing. I kept thinking about it, and all through I was just thinking, Lord, does it mean that we have not the gospel that we have grown up in? Does it mean that there are still some truths that needs to be told? There's still some truths that needs to be explained. Okay, so but this explanation by the man of God actually came straight to me, hit me, and I felt this is the truth. This is the truth. And from then on, I became more interested in Reverend Chris Oyakhilome. He explained Deuteronomy 22:5 about wearing or no wearing of trousers, and you could see clearly that verse of scripture was not actually addressing trousers. There was no trouser written there. I was astonished to find that truly there was no trousers written in that passage of scripture. So what we were being taught, previously, is that a woman shouldn't wear trousers because trousers are made for men. But alas, that's not the whole truth. The trousers are not made for men, but rather men have their own kind of trousers. and women also had their own kind of trousers. It's just a matter of fashion. And God is not a fashion designer, basically. Men come up with all these designs. And in those days, men and women wore gowns, including Moses and all the great men that we read about in scripture. They all wore gowns. So, but there was something you could use to know a man's gown different from a lady's gown. Okay, so I believe also in the same way, trousers, there are trousers that are made for men, and there are trousers that are purpose sewn for women also. The fashion is also different, but the trouser is not the issue. That is not the issue. I think where the issue actually is in how the decency in wearing this fashion. Okay, the decency in wearing trousers, or the decency in wearing shorts. Okay, those days on campus, we've seen sisters who will not wear trousers to fellowship, but when they get back to their hostels, they wore trousers, they wore shorts. And then when you visited in their hostels, you see some of these sisters who condemn trousers outside. They are wearing it in their hostels, and you ask, what's the difference? If wearing trousers were wrong, if wearing trousers is a sin, it doesn't matter where you wear it. It doesn't matter where you wear it. Something is not sin because of where you did it. If someone stole, stealing is stealing, whether you stole in the UK, whether you stole in Nigeria. Okay? Murder, whether you kill somebody on the street or you kill somebody in the house. So the same thing, if wearing trousers is sin, then where do you wear it in the house? You get it now. So that begin to simmer down, and begin to see that the explanation by the man of God to let us know that in that book of Deuteronomy, what it was addressing was the fact that there is a time when a lady will be in her monthly time, and because of that, in order to teach the people cleanliness and for the men not to fall into the situation where they mistakenly pick up their wives' gowns to wear. Okay, and teaching them how to properly separate or keep their things, so that you don't pick each other's thing. Because if the man picks up a woman's garment, don't forget the garments are the same. They are all gown. Okay, if the husband by mistake picks up the wife's gown and puts it on, he becomes defiled. Okay, because you're not supposed to put on that which pertains to. And I later found out that verse was not specific on whether it's clothing. Okay, it was not particular. It just say whatever pertains to. Okay, what pertains to. So the key word, the operative word there is what pertains to, and he didn't define whether it was clothes, whether it was a shirt, whether it was a top or a gown or a trouser or shoe or slippers. It was not specific. So I started wondering why were we now narrow it down to trousers. It could have been shoes. It could have been tops. Okay, It could have been, don't wear the man's t-shirt. Of course, today we see husbands and wives exchanging shirts. So that was why that teaching by Reverend Chris actually opened my eyes. And from that day, like I said, I went back home thinking, I went back to the hostel thinking about this scripture. And I was convinced that his explanation of that scripture was correct. And from then, I got more interested in learning more about his teachings. And then, like they say, today, the rest is history.